Are the Broncos going to be trapped on Sunday against the Carolina Panthers, or will they blow them out? And do the Broncos need to win with style points? We're breaking it down now that Bryce Young is playing, and it all starts now. We're throwing it back on a Thursday. TBT, RK and Zach with you here behind the camera on the DNVR Broncos Podcast. And I'm so excited for this one. And of course, got to give a shout out to the Toyota Lounge where we are rocking and rolling from. And of course, we're driven by your local Front Range Toyota stores. And a shout out to our presenting sponsor, Bet365, where right now they've got a new deal. Use the code DNVR365 when you sign up. Deposit $10, place a $5 bet, and you're going to get $200 in bonus bets and first 2 months of Altitude Plus courtesy of Bet365. And what a perfect time to drop this. Nuggets and Avs are back officially as of tonight. Man, we're going to get a sports equinox soon, and we're getting right now a little throwback show.
We are, man. Great to be here. Great to throw it back. Should we talk about mouse traps?
How about this? The sound of the mice running above us. Yeah.
Bubblegum
dishwasher salmon. We can go all the way back. And Ryan, we have a lot of new listeners since the last time you and I did a true throwback show, or just a true show back in the day. And I was thinking earlier this week, it'd be fun to kind of take the new listeners back, because now we're in an awesome Toyota Lounge studio above a freaking bar here near downtown Denver. We're living the life now, and we were living the life 5 years ago. It was just a much different life we were living.
Very true. You could either go back to like the Lakewood office, where we were just sitting in like the lobby of the office recording podcasts. Or you could go back to the broom closet.
Yes.
Many legendary pods recorded in a broom closet at Broncos headquarters until a reporter who won't be named whined and moaned and complained about it until the Broncos told us we weren't allowed to do that anymore.
Yep, and then Nathaniel Hackett took the entire media room away from us, and that wasn't even the worst thing he did to the Broncos. That was just scratching the surface there.
I saw Mace going on about that the other day.
Oh, yeah. Some people will never let it go. But Sean Payton being very nice, bringing us out from a dungeon where the media is now literally, it's not ADA approved, I don't think. There's no windows. There's no bathroom. Now he's gonna put us in the former team store with windows and a bathroom and stuff.
Whoa.
Yeah, I know.
Win a
nice
couple games.
Shot. Look at that.
I was going to say, back to when I started on the Broncos beat, we used to have food like every day.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is insane.
It was like bagels one day, sandwiches another day, pizza another day.
And you were there, obviously, for the Super Bowl 50 run. I wasn't there. And I heard during, it couldn't have been Super Bowl week. It must have been the lead up to the AFC Championship game. They were doing like Elway's one day.
Wow.
And like some other, maybe even Shanahan's another day. They were just loading you up.
Dang, yeah. I actually don't think I was there for that, but sounds great.
And man, this show is going to be great. TBT, is that still a thing that people say?
Yeah, well, I actually saw Shedeur Sanders say that just yesterday.
Okay, well, if Shedur's saying it, then I feel like it's very much in right now. I've been hanging around the youth. Not on the Broncos.
Are you allowed to do that?
22 years old. You are the one that allows it because you hired this guy, Nick Russetti,
I did not hire
social.
Him,
We'll put some distance between you.
I would.
I travel with Broncos games with him. He and I go, and so he keeps me hip.
Oh yeah. You learning some new phrases?
Yeah, class.
Oh wow.
Have you heard of that one?
That's a good thing, right?
Yeah, it's like that's class.
That's because he's like a soccer fan. That's definitely coming from the UK.
Oh, no, that's a soccer thing?
Yeah.
I can't be saying that. I'm sorry to any soccer fans.
It's not a soccer thing. It's just a UK phrase.
Okay. Oh, someone actually, I think, said that. Like, isn't that European or British or something?
Yeah.
Oh, that makes sense.
What did you call the Toyota 4Runner?
Yeah,
help me out here.
I can't. Swoop. Yes.
Has that caught on with Gen Z yet?
Yeah, I need to put that in Nick's lingo and have him pick it up and then
he
spread
could probably, because if he starts saying it, then all of the people in the office who are trying to remain young will start saying it.
That's such a good point. And then we'll be saying it to the cameras. Yeah. And Ryan, maybe you can throw that to Shadur, because I feel like if he were to say it, then it would really pop off.
Yeah, for sure. Have you started saying bet?
Bet? No.
That one's got me. Like, that's now part of my
when you agree with something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so easy.
Yeah, that's true. Bet. Yeah. Especially, I mean, we're just now in the betting world.
It's true.
So it's even
I'll
more.
bet on anything.
Yeah, it's true. Will you bet on the Broncos this week?
What's the spread?
It started... Okay, the opening line... And I don't know when this opened up, if it was like the beginning of the season, if it was Sunday night after the games. But I saw the opening line was 4.5. But then within minutes, it went to 7. Then 7.5. And then, Ryan, some news dropped yesterday. Yep. So 2 days ago, Andy Dalton was involved in a car accident. But the Panthers made it very clear right away, like, it wasn't serious. No one was transported to the hospital in the car. And it was him, his family, and his family's dog. So it kind of was concerning. But right away, the Panthers said no one went to the hospital. And so it was like, okay, well, that's encouraging. Now, will Andy be able to play? Did anything happen? Yesterday morning, it comes out that Andy sprained his thumb, and he still might play on Sunday, but he's going to be the backup. So I'm not sure if they kind of use this as a reason to just get Bryce Young back in there, because Bryce Young is officially starting, or if the sprained thumb's bad enough. But at some point, the Panthers were going to go back to Bryce Young this season, and it happens to be this week. So when that news came out, to get back to the line, it went from 7.5 to 10. The Broncos are 10-point favorites in this game. You know the last time they were 10-point favorites in a game? You actually don't have to go back as far as at least I would have thought. I hope that doesn't throw you off.
I'm going to say the last time was 2016.
See, I would have done the same thing. I would have gone back that far. You only have to go back to the Russell Wilson era.
Against who? Jets?
The second game of the season. This is such a forgettable game.
The second game of the first season?
Yep. So the first game was Seahawks.
Yep.
So that was Russ's return. The second game, Russ's home opener. It's such a forgettable game.
I don't know. What was it?
I think this was the play clock game, actually.
Oh, yeah. The Texans.
Yes. Impressive. And the Texans must have just been absolutely awful. And obviously, there was a lot of hype with the Broncos. Having Russell Wilson, it came off a loss, but Russ threw for 300 yards. And, you know, it was Javonte and Melvin both fumbling at the 1 yard line. Yep. The reason the Broncos lost the game. And the Texans, the Broncos won, but I think it was like 16-9.
Oh, God,
like,
it was so
they
bad.
They didn't cover. I can't believe the play clock game was 2 games in to a new coach and a new quarterback.
Yeah, and that was like, man, that was when it started to feel like, uh-oh. This doesn't feel any different.
I just remember being like, no, it has to be different. I'm not going to... I can't buy into that this is any different.
What's crazy is the next game after that, they beat the 49ers.
Yes.
So they were 2-1 with a win over the 49ers.
Was that
it was
11
like 10,
to 10?
It was like 10-9 or something. It was like, okay, I like that we beat the 49ers, but it would be cool to get some offense. And then it couldn't be much longer after that. That was a game that I saw referenced by just an average NFL fan the other day, which was the Thursday night game against the Colts.
Where Al Michaels is like questioning his life decisions to even be at this game.
He's
right
like,
now.
bro, I got to retire. What am I doing?
And then Amazon's like, here, no, take all of this money. He's like, okay, I'll stick around.
Amazon also gave me tickets to that game.
Wow. Oh, field level, right?
Well, we like got to go on the
passes?
field before. Yeah, it was crazy.
That is so cool. Speaking of like cool things, remember when Hackett was hired, He and Justin Outen, the Broncos offensive coordinator, went to a Nuggets game. Shout out Nuggets, home opener tonight. And they put them on the Jumbotron.
Yep.
What was it like? Get ready, Broncos Country. We're going to score tons of points.
I was about to say it's only a matter of time before the comments are like, why are you doing this to us?
Because now, once you get out of the bad times, you can start laughing and poking fun at the bad times. And Ryan,
how many points did we score this last week? 33?
33 points. Yeah, honestly, should have been a 30-point win. The Saints got garbage time touchdown at the very end. The Broncos won 33-3 when they were trying. And Ryan, the good news is, I think the Broncos are out of the bad times. I do believe in this Broncos team.
Look, you started this whole thing by asking me if I'm going to bet on the Broncos this week. And do you know the stat about like the heaviest dogs in the NFL this year?
I haven't thought of it in this perspective yet, but it's not good.
Yeah, I wonder how the Panthers are doing in that regard, though, because they haven't won a game, right? Oh, no, they did win one.
They won one. And it kind of ties into this game, unfortunately.
So they've definitely played a role in this because they're like the heaviest underdog every week. But heavy dogs in the NFL are having a generational year.
Seriously.
So I'll say this. I bet you that the Panthers like backdoor cover this. I don't think they're going to be one of the ones that have won straight up, which is a lot. But I bet you that it's like 16, the Broncos are up 16 and then they pull or whatever. And there's a garbage time touchdown that like keeps Panthers fans believing in Bryce Young. And it's a 9-point win for the Broncos.
That would be fine. Yeah. I would accept that. Maybe the line drops to 8.5 before then, and the Broncos are able to cover in a different way. But let's dive into this game and the Bryce Young, Andy Dalton effect. Because, Ryan, the question I want to ask is, yesterday morning, if I would have said, do you want Bryce Young or Andy Dalton to play against the Broncos, what would your answer have been? Let me know in the Toyota chat. And before I get to your answers, I want to give a shout out to our friends over at Westera Credit Union. We're over at Westera Credit Union. They're all about Denver and Colorado and this community. They were founded here in 1934, so they're celebrating their 90th anniversary with a 9% CD that offers you 9% annual percentage yield on a 5-month certificate of deposit. You can start earning high interest on balances as low as $500 and a max of $3,000. They're all about helping their members financially prosper, and education is their thing because they were founded by a group of 8 school teachers. So that's what they're about over at Westera Credit Union. And they want to give you that 9% annual percentage yield on a 5-month certificate of deposit. And what you have to do is check them out over at WesteraCU.com. This is only offered for a limited time, and early withdrawal penalty fees apply. Fees could reduce earnings. Rates accurate as of September 1st. New money and in-branch offer only. Limited time offer subject to change without notice. Review membership account agreement, disclosures and information guide for additional details. Membership eligibility required. Insured by the NCUA.
Zach, what's your average sleep time per night?
7.
Okay.
7 hours.
7's acceptable.
Yeah. I'd love to get it to 8, though.
How do you get it, like, for you, would that be going to bed earlier or sleeping in later?
It'd have to be earlier.
But you already go to bed at like 9 p.m.
Yeah, you know what? I've become a little bit of a bad boy.
Oh,
starting to stay up a little later.
That's crazy.
It's more like 11.
Oh,
I know.
Dang. I might start texting you again. Because back in the day, it's like I text Zach and then he texts me back at 5 a.m. and then the vibes are just off. Anyways. We could all do a little bit better on our sleep. I definitely could, although I got a great night's sleep last night.
Are you in the 5-hour club?
I certainly am sometimes.
Ryan, you can do better.
I know, I can do better. And Coach Prime himself is asking all of us to do better. But on the whole, what Coach Prime is doing with the Ready, Set, Go Challenge with UC Health is trying to get Colorado back to its rightful place as the healthiest state in the United States. And that's the place where we belong.
Yep.
I feel like my whole childhood we owned that.
100%.
And
Never
now-
thought we were going to lose it.
What? And then, some idiot starts sleeping 5 hours a night and we all fall behind. So join the Ready, Set, Go challenge with Coach Prime as the CMO, the Chief Motivation Officer. And let's work on getting 8 hours of sleep per night. You can go to uchealth.org/readysetco to join the Ready, Set, Go challenge. Take it upon yourself to start getting better sleep.
And that idiot that's getting 5 hours of sleep a night has also probably won a lot of money betting on Coach Prime over at Bet365. Shout out to our presenting sponsor. Use that code DNVR365. Deposit $10, bet $5. You're going to get $200 in bonus bets plus 2 months of Altitude Plus courtesy of Bet365. So check them out. All right, Ryan. Is it a good thing that the Broncos are facing Bryce Young instead of Andy Dalton? And if you say no, it doesn't mean that you think the Broncos are going to lose this game, but who would you rather go up against?
This is so obvious to me. I would rather go against Bryce Young.
Okay. Well, this is so obvious to me. I'd rather go against Andy Dalton.
Ooh, I like
so
this.
tell me why.
First of all, he's going to be rusty. Hasn't been out there, hasn't felt the speed of the game in a while. He did come in at the end of it. Was that last week? Came in at the end of the game?
Did he? I don't know.
I think he did. But regardless, there's going to be shaking off some rust. The other thing is the Broncos defense is so nasty.
Yeah.
And Bryce Young's, been in the league for a year and a half now.
Yep.
He's seen very good NFL defenses. But this one is going to be in the upper echelon of defenses he's ever faced.
Yep.
Andy Dalton's seen it all. Nothing's going to surprise him. Nothing's going to catch him off guard. It's not going to feel like it's moving fast to him. And he's going to have some answers to the test just based on how long he's been in here. I don't know if Bryce Young is. Now, of course, he could scramble out of there and make a big play downfield that, could potentially alter the game. I don't think he's going to be able to consistently move the ball enough on this defense to put a scare into the Broncos whatsoever.
Well, I agree with everything you said. Why I'm saying I'd rather face Andy Dalton. Ryan, you talked about how the Panthers have one win on the season. Do you remember when it happened, what the circumstances were, who it was against?
Andy Dalton was starting.
His first game.
Yes.
Yep.
That's all I remember. He came in and everyone was like, oh, God, he's going to get destroyed. And then he won. And it was like, wait, is it all the Panthers' fault or is it Bryce Young's fault?
Uh-huh. Exactly. It was the week after they benched Bryce Young. The Panthers went into Las Vegas. Shout out to the Raiders for handing the Panthers their only win of the
Slumpbuster
season.
Raiders.
Exactly. That's what gives me a tiny bit of concern about this is sometimes you get like the interim head coach boost for one game. Sometimes you get the backup quarterback boost for one game. I don't know if you can get the backup quarterback boost for multiple games in a season. Right, exactly. So that's why I'm not so concerned about that, but like, hey, maybe he does give them a boost. So that's one thing. Also, Bryce Young, I have to imagine he's playing completely different now than he was the first year and 2 games of his NFL career. He was the number 1 overall pick.
Yes.
He had everything to lose. This year, even more to lose because it's like, okay, not only are you looking to be a bust, you might be one of the biggest busts. We might be putting you in the Jamarcus Russell type of bust category right now. And so he had everything to lose. Now, he has nothing to lose. He's already lost it all. He's the backup right now coming in for Andy Dalton, and he's just trying to do anything. And playing freely can change some players a lot. And he was the former number 1 overall pick. He does have talent. Now, obviously, hindsight 2020, the Panthers should have drafted C.J. Stroud, but that was not the case going into this draft. A couple of people thought C.J. Stroud could have been the number 1 overall pick, but for the most part, everyone, not just the Panthers, thought like, yeah, probably Bryce Young 1 and then C.J. Stroud 2. It's close, but so he has talent there. And if he plays free, has talent, and puts everything together, I'd rather just go against Andy Dalton because he's already had his one game and he's not going to do anything. He's not going to scare me. So when I view this, here's how I look at it. Andy Dalton was probably going to lose to the Broncos by 13 to 23 points, a range of that. Bryce Young, I think, has the slightest possibility of beating the Broncos. I mean, the slightest. But he can also lose by 40, So I think there's just a much bigger variance with Bryce Young on the good and the bad. With Andy Dalton, I think the spread maybe around 10, 12, 14, 16 is probably right.
Yeah. First of all, I almost guarantee you're going to get, like, that's going to be called negative, what you just said. But you definitely cannot go into an NFL game thinking there's 0% chance you can lose.
Right.
I don't think that's ever been true in an NFL game where one team had a 0% chance of losing to the other team.
Yeah.
Like, there is a world in which you can lose this game. Just ask the Raiders. You know, it is different with Andy Dalton. But
ask the Raiders in both ways really quick. The Raiders beat the Ravens.
Exactly. Exactly. So anything can happen. Heck, I know it's college, but did you see last night? 0-6 Kennesaw State beat 6-0 Liberty.
Insane. They were what, 24 point favorites?
Yep. I'm bummed that I wasn't watching that game.
I know. Or bet on it.
I know. I like cooked dinner, was being an adult, and I looked down and I was like, "What? I missed this to be an adult."
Yeah.
Anyways, anything can happen in a football game. You, no matter who plays, you have a chance of losing because wild stuff could happen. There could be a kick return touchdown on the opening, kickoff, whatever, anything like that. But Bryce Young really struggles feeling pressure. He really struggles evading pressure in the right way.
Yep.
It's a lot of just running straight backwards and throwing it up or throwing it away. He's struggled to fit the ball into NFL windows, which the Broncos make tighter than anyone.
Yep.
My only question, I guess, is what's up with PS2?
Good news on PS2. He is going to play.
All right.
Now, he's still in the concussion protocol, but he practiced yesterday. He practiced fully yesterday, so he will play. It's not official, but you can take my word he's going to play.
All right. Well, I love to hear that. And also, man, we during that Raiders game, we were kind of starting the PS2 DPOY campaign.
Yeah.
I like that Bryce Young is playing in this for that because he's got to start sacking picks.
Yeah.
And you might just get one or two. Maybe I can test him.
I absolutely love that. And the thing is, if Bryce is the same quarterback he was when he was benched in week 2, Ryan, the Broncos might set records for picks. For sacks is a huge one.
Yep.
This is a guy that in college, he got the ball out so quick, and that was such a huge benefit to his game. He was able to go through progressions quick, totally different player in the NFL. In fact, there's the one sack that sticks in my mind from the last game he played in where pressure gets to him. He just runs to the left all the way to the sideline, like 10 yards backward as well. And instead of throwing the ball away, he just takes a massive hit from an outside linebacker.
Yeah.
If that's the same Bryce Young, if he hasn't got better and kind of shaken those rusts off over the past 5 weeks, oh my gosh. The Broncos honestly might have double-digit sacks in this game. And the Broncos have the number 1 sack differential in the NFL. That's sacks allowed and sacks got on defense. Number 2 in sacks in the NFL, and they're tied for the fewest sacks allowed on Bo Nix. And credit to Sean Payton. He was asked earlier this year, before the Broncos got Bo Nix, before the Broncos even moved on from Russell Wilson, said, what's the number 1 thing that this Broncos offense has to do to score more points? And he said, take fewer sacks. That was his answer. And the Broncos have gone from the most sacked team in the NFL to the least sacked team in the NFL. And then they're doing it on the defensive side, too.
By the way, take fewer sacks is different than allow fewer sacks.
Take fewer sacks. How so?
Taking sacks is on the quarterback. Allowing sacks is on the offensive line.
Oh, I like that.
So that was...
Shot at Russ.
Little one. Anyways, yeah. I think the Broncos also lead the NFL in pressure rate.
Yep.
Here's the thing. You talked about like maybe the Panthers are using this as an excuse to get Bryce back out there. This would be a bad game to choose to do that.
That's a very good point.
It would be a very bad game to say, okay, let's get Bryce back out there. Let's build his confidence up.
It's so true. It's like, might be a terrible analogy, but it's like you're trying to get your car started again. And instead of just taking it on side roads to get it going, you're putting it on the expressway, going 75 miles an hour, and this thing's going 20 miles an hour. You're setting yourself up for failure.
That was a bad metaphor, but I think we get your point.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, you're the metaphor guy. I try to break them out, and sometimes it just doesn't go well. Like, maybe I shouldn't break out metaphors around you because you're the king of them.
Or maybe I'm just willing to let you know everyone else just lets you get by.
That's true. That's a very good point. Can you give me a relationship metaphor for this?
Okay, it's like you're...
This is a TBT.
Yeah, it is. It's like you're trying to win a girl over, but you brought her to a party with all of your coolest, most attractive friends.
Yep, that is... and then you bring her there, and then she doesn't go home with you.
Yeah.
Wow, that was
a stretch, but I was on the spot.
That was pretty darn good there, Ryan. Okay, so let us know in the Twitter chat. Would you rather have Bryce or Andy Dalton this week? Honestly, Ryan, I don't think it matters. And shout out to Strez. He pointed out I probably just have some bias with Bryce Young. That's probably fair and right, being from Alabama there. But I do think there's just a little something. I'm curious to how he plays going from all the pressure on him to absolutely no pressure right now. And as Victory Lap says in the Twitter chat, Benito trying to tie Von's record. If Nick Benito gets a sack this week, which might be his easiest game of getting a sack, he will tie Von Miller for the longest sack streak that the Broncos have had since 2015. Or actually, since Von Miller was on the team. It would be 6 straight games with a sack. And then he would definitely be on his way to a double-digit sack season. Okay, let's break down this game a little more in depth. Talk about some other things here. Ryan, have you ever been given an embarrassing present? I don't want to say bad present because I think everyone has been given a bad present at some point in their life. But an embarrassing present.
I don't think so.
Because that's... what a Bronco got yesterday was a humiliating present. And I want to tell you guys about it after I give a shout out to our friends over at Shady Rays. We're over at Shady Rays, man. You can get any sort of glasses that you want. Sunglasses from sporty to cool to even, we're approaching ski season right now. You can get ski goggles over at Shady Rays. They're all polarized. That's one thing that makes them great. Another thing that makes them great, they're always affordable. Like, you look at some sunglasses, some other companies, they're so expensive. Then they add an additional fee for polarized. You're spending hundreds of dollars on a pair of sunglasses. Not over at Shady Rays. And then on top of that, they're going to make them even more affordable by giving you the code DNVR, exclusive for our listeners. Use the code DNVR. They're going to give you 35% off their polarized sunglasses. Everyone in the office has a couple of Shady Rays because we love them so much, and we know that you're going to love them too. But don't take our word. You can take 300,000 people's word who have given them 5-star reviews over at ShadyRays.com. Use that code DNVR over at ShadyRays.com for 35% off.
I love that. And I also love Primo Hoagies. These things are so good. In fact, last time we did this show, this ad read made me want one so bad that then I just ordered one to the office. Actually, I ordered like 5 because everyone else wanted one too. So delicious. My favorite right now is the, I think it's called Turkey Diablo. It is like spicy turkey. You throw hot peppers on there, mayo, all of the fixins, and then the bread. And the bread is the game changer that puts them above the rest. In fact, they are USA Today's best sandwich shop back-to-back in 2023 and 2024. And it's all about the bread, honestly. So right now, you can get a mouth-watering deal at Primo Hoagies.
It's giving me mouth-water right now.
1 Primo-size hoagie, 1 bag of chips, and a 20-inch drink for only $15.99. It's a hell of a deal. Don't miss out. Swing by Primo Hoagie Centennial today and treat yourself to the perfect lunch.
And shout out to Bet365. Use that code DNVR365 to get the best offer out there. Okay, Ryan. Audric Estime having a tough rookie season. Man, I mean, he's hurdled guys. He's actually scored a touchdown. But in fewer than 10 carries, he's already got 2 fumbles on the season. And fans are turning on him really quick.
Kind of like how they turned on Troy Franklin.
Yeah, exactly. Now they're kind of turning back to Troy Franklin.
That's my point.
And I think that's what's going to happen. I think Audric Estime is going to turn fans back in his favor, but he's going to have to earn it. And I think Sean Payton's taken the right approach. When talking about his issues with fumbling, Sean said, he challenged him. He said, he's going to have to earn that back. And he will. Now, he also complimented him, praised him for saying a lot of things that he's done have been good. And he was given a present by Javonte Williams yesterday. You know what it was?
A football.
A football that he has to carry around for the next week, and he can't drop it. And it's pretty humiliating, embarrassing gift to get. But you know what? It's probably the one he needs.
Yeah. Did you ever do that exercise in high school where they gave you a baby?
I knew what you were going to say. No, thankfully not.
Oh, man, that was crazy. I don't even remember what, I guess it was health class.
Yeah.
You got like this baby that was on like a clock. And it also could register if you dropped it. Like it like sent a log. You had to like plug it in, and it would say like, you know, like how long was it crying before it was tended to?
Yep.
Was it dropped? They should have just given him one of those. Because then, like, what if he drops it at home? No one will know.
It's a really good point. Maybe it does have some chips in it. We know footballs are starting to get chips in them.
All right, I have a theory about Audric Estime's fumbles.
Ooh.
His biceps are so big and like sturdy that he can't really like tuck the ball good enough. It's like, you know, trying to like tuck the ball against a brick wall versus like a pillow.
That's a good point. You know what? Your theory has also been mentioned, I don't know, on the show or off, by Todd. And he's a football player. He knows.
And he knows a little something about guns.
Exactly. So that concerns the hell out of me, though, because I don't think he's going to shrink his biceps anytime soon.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe he just needs to eat some more, so build some padding around the biceps.
He needs to get fat, is what you're saying. And you know what? I think this is a silly thing, seemingly. And tell me if I'm stretching here. I actually think this could help because if he's thinking about this football for, you know, hours and hours a day for the next week, don't you think he'll think about it a little more when he's running with it on the field?
Yeah, definitely. But at the same time, you know, any football player or coach can tell you can't think and play at the same time.
That's a good point.
At least not well.
Yeah.
So what I don't want is him thinking more about holding on to the ball than hitting the hole.
Yeah, that's fair.
I think it'll just become second nature eventually, though. Mm-hmm. And, you know, this is something that players have struggled with throughout all of football. In fact, very few people know this because if I talk to you about a Broncos running back who doesn't fumble, who do you say?
Phillip Lindsay.
Phillip Lindsay.
Yeah.
You know who had a big fumble issue his freshman and sophomore year at Colorado? Phillip Lindsay.
Really?
Yes. Had multiple fumbles in a game once, I remember, when he was young.
Wow.
And he fixed it. And then he never fumbled in his NFL career.
So that's what's happening with Audric.
Well, it's very possible. Sometimes you just need better technique. Sometimes, you know, like it, again, theorizing here. He's so strong.
Yeah.
It's potential that he was just stronger than everyone always. And so, like, when someone tried to pull the ball away from him, they just weren't able to.
Great point.
Now he's going up against guys who are as strong as him every single week.
Mm-hmm.
So might just need to get a little better with his technique. You know, these guys are freaks.
Yep.
Until they get to the NFL, and then you're just a guy in the NFL.
Yeah.
And a lot of times you just have to change things. So he could get it right with just better technique.
It's such a good point. Now, I wouldn't be shocked if he's inactive this week as kind of a punishment. You're in the doghouse right now. You get a full week with this football. Don't you dare drop it. Maybe he's on the sideline not wearing pads, holding the football the entire game, and we see that. Or maybe he is active but only gets one carry. But don't think the Broncos are completely done with him if he is inactive or doesn't get any touches this week. I do think he'll be back. I just think they're going to send a little bit of a message to him. So he needs...
One last question on this. Do you feel like the Broncos drafted Audric Estime as Javonte Williams insurance?
Yes.
I do too. And they don't need that insurance plan right now.
Great point. No.
Javonte looks great.
Yep.
But he's coming up on a contract eventually. You want Audric to be on that level by the time you have to make that decision on paying.
That's such a good point.
No
and
rush.
Javonte's not going to get a big contract, so you're going to have to decide. Well, maybe he will if he finishes the season strong. So you're going to have to decide, do I want to give Javonte a big contract, a small contract, or do we just going to go with Audric Estime? So great point there.
Tiki Barber's another great example of a guy who was just a fumble machine and then completely changed his technique and stopped fumbling the ball.
Gives me hope. Should give Audric hope as well. So Audric just needs to trap the ball better when he's carrying it. Is this a trap game for the Broncos?
I hate this term.
Why?
I don't know. It just seems silly to me. But I've learned a lot over the years, and there are legitimately times where a team will sit back. And, I think I always talk about this. You guys who have been listening to the show for a long time probably remember me saying this a lot. There's always one thing I learn about a sport that I've loved my whole life every year. At least one new thing that I learned about it. The new thing I've learned this year is I truly believe the team that watches more film has the higher chance of winning. I think it could almost be that simple, especially in the college game, but also in the NFL. And trap games, which I used to kind of denounce, I think are honestly where a team says, we don't really need it this week. Do I really need to stay up that extra hour and watch that extra, game of film? Do I really need to dial in more on this or that or the other thing? And they say no. Yet the other team who's hungry and desperate never thinks that way. And I honestly think that's how trap games happen. I do not believe the Denver Broncos are a good enough team to get trapped.
Yep.
But they have to also believe that. So I'm going to throw it back on you. Do you think that they are hungry and, desperate enough to not get trapped?
Before you even said that and threw the question my way, phrased just like that, that's exactly what my answer was going to be. About this team specifically was no. They're not good enough, and I don't think they believe they're good enough right now. They've got a rookie quarterback. They're a team that a couple of weeks ago, 3 times in this season, have scored 0 points in the first half. And you know what? Maybe the defense is good enough to get trapped in this game and still destroy the Panthers. But this offense is what needs to show up this week. And they know that they're not good enough. And Sean Payton knows that they're not good enough. So I honestly think, and I know what you're saying about not fully buying trap games, and I can see that. I do think there's an extent to it, but the team has to be good enough and believe in themselves, like be cocky enough. I don't think the Broncos are there yet. I think the Broncos are in this perfect sweet spot where we'll talk about Baltimore next week and Kansas City the week after that. The Broncos are good enough. They could beat either of those teams on the road in really tough environments. They're not good enough to sleep through an entire game, even against the Carolina Panthers team, and just win easy. So I think they know that too.
And I just think that they also know, you got to stack wins right now. If they were, what would it be, 6-1?
Yeah.
It would be very easy to start looking ahead to the Ravens and the Chiefs and say, okay, we got to get ready for them. You're 4-3 and you have 2 really difficult games coming up. All right, you have to be thinking, we desperately need this one to make sure that the worst we could be on the other end of that is 5-5.
Yep, 100%. I've been very bullish for the past 2 or 3 weeks that this Broncos team is making the playoffs, and they have to win this game in order to do that. It's one that I think they're going to win. I'm very, very confident they're going to win. We're getting to our score predictions later, but also when you think about trap games, it means you're overlooking a team. Wouldn't you want to enjoy this week and say, how are we going to beat the heck out of this team? And let's make Sunday fun. Let's not make it nerve-wracking. Let's make it a blast, especially at home. We have a losing record at home, a winning record on the road. Let's give our fans something to really cheer for this week and then get on a roll. Go 5-1 in our last 6 games. And I don't really want to look at playing Baltimore, who might be the hottest team. The Broncos the next 2 weeks after this are arguably going to be playing the 2 hottest teams and the 2 best teams in the NFL.
Yep.
I don't want to look at that right now. I want to look at this worst team that I'm playing.
The very likely AFC Championship matchup.
Unless the Broncos are in there.
I'm just saying, right? If you're putting 100%. Odds on it, it would probably be I don't know, plus 200 right now for you to pick both of those teams to be in there.
Yep.
At most. So
since week 3, both those teams are undefeated.
Yeah, and the Ravens especially are just dominating people.
Yep.
This shouldn't be that way. And if you're Bo Nix, there's no way that you can sit back right now. You have to just be pressing forward, saying, I got to do anything and everything I can to keep getting better right now so that I can help this team win those games moving forward. I think that it would be a big surprise if this was a trap game for them.
So then let me throw it to kind of the opposite end of a trap game. Do the Broncos need to win with style points in this game?
Absolutely not.
Why? They're a 10-point favorite, Ryan.
There's no like college football playoff committee in the NFL. It does not matter how you win. Will it help their confidence going into the next couple games if they win this game 30-3? Yes. But all you have to do is stack wins. Find a way to win anytime, anywhere, and that's all that matters.
I couldn't agree more. And I know there's some people that want to see the Broncos win by 30 points. Sure, would I want to see that? Would that be
Everyone
fun?
would,
Of
yes.
course, it'd be a blast. But Ryan, if the Broncos win 10-9, it would be a little disappointing. But you know what? It'd be the win, and then it's on to Baltimore. Just like if the Broncos win in Baltimore by 1 point, that you celebrate a lot more. But then you're on to Kansas City just like that. And so if the Broncos don't cover the spread but win the game, it's fine. I'm not going to be freaking out. If it looks ugly, but they get the win, that's all they have to do in this game. They have to be 5-3 after this game, going into that 2-game stretch in order to be a playoff team. So would we like to see it? Of course we would like to see it. Does it need to happen? And you know what, Ryan? The Broncos also are a team that's 4-3. You just said the two teams that are likely in the AFC Championship game. When you get to that level, where in week 6 and 7, you're being talked about as like, okay, this season's kind of a bust if you don't make it to the AFC Championship game. That's when you need to be always covering the spread. The Broncos just aren't in that place right now. But you know what? They're in a much better place than a lot of people thought they were going to be. Let's break down this Carolina Panthers team a little bit, Ryan. And this is, of course, a podcast. It's also a show. And I wanted to give people a little visual experiment of visual learning of how bad.
Visual aid?
Visual aid of how bad these Carolina Panthers are. You hear? Can you bring up this graphic? So this is from the Broncos and the NFL's weekly release. And what they do is they break down nearly every single category on offense, of defense, that you can break down for an entire team. And they give you a ranking for all of them, 1 to 32. 1's the best, 32 is the worst. And then what they do is they color code it. Red is you're in the bottom 10 in the NFL in that category. Green, you're in the top 10. Black, you're in the middle, 50% right there. Broncos, maybe a little too much red on the offensive side that you like to see. You can't see the full defensive side, but the Broncos are green in every single statistical category. Top 10 in every single category. Broncos green in 1 or 2 on offense. Ryan, how much red is on the other side with the Panthers?
A lot.
Yeah.
I'm actually surprised to see 2 green in there.
I know. You know what? You'll be even more surprised at what they are. Fumbles and sacks.
Allowed?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
I think
fumbles, I guess, is fine.
That's probably what Andy Dalton's been good at, is not taking sacks, because Bryce Young was getting sacked left and right week 1 and 2.
For sure. That Broncos defense is just so dangerous.
Yep.
And, like Zach Allen playing maybe even above his contract is
totally agree.
It has been transformative for them. And then, like guys like Nick Bonito and that pass rush, finding a way to get back there is everything, because they have 2 really great cover corners.
Yep, 100%. Some defensive stats to throw out your way. Broncos are one of 5 teams to hold their opponents to 17 or fewer points in the last 4 games this season. You mentioned how the Broncos lead the NFL in pressures. According to PFF, they're number 1 at 156 pressures. Number 2 is at 140. We've got over 16 pressures in the number 2 team, and they have the most quick pressures in the NFL as well, which is getting to the quarterback in under 2.5 seconds, which is all credit to the defense, specifically the line and outside linebackers.
And to Vance Joseph.
100%.
Because you don't get there without scheming it up.
Yeah, 100%. Great point. Cody Barton had the fastest sack in the entire NFL this season. He got to the quarterback in like 2.1 seconds last week.
That's Vance Joseph.
Yeah, 100% Vance.
With all due respect to Cody Barton.
But all due respect to Vance Joseph as well.
Absolutely.
With what he's doing, you look at all that green there. If this continues, Broncos are going to have to find a new defensive coordinator after this season.
Because you think Vance is going back to the head coaching ranks?
I think he could. Yep.
Wow.
Very, very well. Players absolutely love Vance. And if he's putting up these numbers with, remember, a Broncos team that I think PFF, ESPN, a bunch of other outlets said was the worst roster in the NFL before this season. And he just puts out the number one defense in pretty every category. How can you not look at him? How can you not interview him? Now, maybe he doesn't get it this year, but he will get interviews. And that would be such a great thing for the Broncos to have. Finally, they're not firing their staff. Their staff is leaving for promotions. Ryan, I don't know what that's like. It hasn't happened in the past decade.
Totally. And I think they already have a contingency plan if that were to happen with Jim Leonard.
Yep, 100%.
So that's exciting, man. Was the season win total 5.5?
5.5.
Got a couple tickets on that.
Yeah, you probably also, Buffs and Broncos, both right there. Buffs 1 win this week, right?
Man.
Weren't they 5.5?
I think you're right, yeah.
Yeah.
So I have a Buffs Broncos wins over parlay.
Ooh.
And I also have a Buffs Broncos alternate wins over parlay.
How high did we go?
I think I had the Broncos up. I just bet it up as high as they would let me.
Yes.
Which was, I think, 9.5. So they've still got a lot of work to do there.
Ryan, I think they're a playoff team. They're not getting to the playoffs at 9-7.
Yep.
They're getting to the playoffs at 10-7. Yeah.
Yep.
I think it's good.
And the Buffs, I think the highest they would let me go on that was 6.5.
That's wild.
I know.
That is insane. This week, of course, if you want to bet, use that code DNVR365 over at Bet365. Want to give a shout out to our presenting sponsor. Ryan, should we dive in to our picks to just see how dangerous this is going to be?
Yeah, let's do it.
What do you think? What's your score prediction? Or, you know what? Let me give you Todd and Henry's score prediction. Todd, we know he's typically favors the Broncos, and he does like the Broncos this week. He's going 30-7. Broncos get the win. Henry can keep it honest with us sometimes, and he thinks the Broncos are going to destroy the spread here. 41-13. Oof. Giving up 13 points.
I'll take that if they score 41.
Yeah, it's very true.
I'd be fine with them giving up 24 if they score 41.
Because the story of the game is going to be about the 41. It's not going to be about the 25.
Exactly.
What are you going with?
Give me... Man, I wish I could pick the Broncos to score that many points. I'm not there yet, though, with this offense.
It's fair.
Give me Broncos 24, Panthers 9.
Okay. Yep. I hope that score is wrong, because I'd love to see him score in the 30s. I think everyone would. But that would just be a convincing, dominating win. You're probably talking about Broncos up 17-0 at half or something like that. I guess in an ideal world. In the Toyota chat, people going, Cody going 28-7 Broncos, Jose going 35-0 Broncos, Daniel Sepp going Broncos 20-6, Rodney Garcia 26-10. Ryan, the over-under in this game is 41 points. And that dropped a couple of points when they made Bryce Young the starter, which is just crazy. Henry's got the over. Henry has the Broncos almost covering the over. You've got the under. Todd's got the under. I have the under as well. And I had this score before going into this game. You actually said the score when you were just talking earlier. And I was like, oh,
really?
Maybe there's something to this score if you're just throwing it out. I'm going 30-3. It's impossible for me. I predicted a shutout once earlier this season, and it didn't happen. So it's so tough to get a shutout in the NFL.
Predicting a shutout sucks because all it takes is like one run that goes for 30 yards, and you're like, oh.
Yeah, that's it.
There goes my shutout.
A guy trips. It's not even like a blown assignment or something. So Broncos 30-3.
30-3 is a notable score for the Broncos, is it not? I think they have several wins over the last few years that are 30-3. And I think 2 of them came over the Jets.
Really?
I think so.
Wow. I love that.
Yeah.
Well, let's go. Let's keep it a notable score. We've all got the Broncos crushing the Panthers. No trap game here. Don't have to worry about it. And if it's any of our scores, man, there's just going to be even that much more hope going into a Baltimore-Kansas City stretch where, honestly, the Broncos don't have to win either of those games. Being at 5-3, they can drop to 5-5, and they've got winnable games before the bye there to get back above 500. But Ryan, the huge thing with that is they're playing with nothing to lose. And that's the only reason I'm scared of Bryce Young is playing with nothing to lose. This Broncos team will be playing with nothing to lose these next 2 games. And man, that's what we're going to be talking about Sunday night, Monday morning, and all of next week. But there's a couple of other games that we need to pick in the AFC West. And Ryan, I wouldn't be shocked if there's some sort of history with the AFC West games this week.
I think I was wrong about 30-3. But they did beat the Seahawks in a preseason game 30-3 in 2021.
Let's go. Let's treat them like the 2021 Seahawks. Ryan, I think this might be like the highest combined spreads that one division has ever had this weekend.
Wow, okay.
I might be wrong on that and I'm not going to do the research. The Saints are playing the Chargers. Can you guess that spread?
Wow. Chargers -7.5.
Chargers, very close, -7.
Okay.
So pretty close on there.
I used to do this every week for every game.
Yeah, you did. Guess the spreads, baby. Chiefs at Raiders.
Chiefs at Raiders, so a little bit lower for that. I don't think it's going to be higher than the Broncos. Give me Chiefs -9.5.
Did you look?
No. Swear to
Oh
God.
my goodness. Right on the money.
Hell yeah.
9.5. Impressive. And then the Broncos at 10. Maybe there's been bigger spreads, but I mean, they're saying, Vegas is saying like, okay, every AFC West team except for the Raiders is going to win this week.
I guess that would be what would prove your theory wrong because the Raiders are
right,
plus
right,
9.5.
Yeah,
so you got to cancel that out.
It's true. They would need to be, there's no one they could play.
The Panthers.
The Panthers beat them.
I know, but if they play the Panthers at home, they would be over 3-point favorites.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So are you going just chalk this week? Are you saying that all the heavy favorites are going to win, or do you think the Chargers are going to charger once again?
Oh, man, 2 in a row would be tough. Yeah, just give me the chalk.
Yeah, probably smart there. And then Chiefs as well?
I think so. I mean, again, NFL standards this year would tell us one of these teams is going to blow it.
That's very true. And it can't be the Broncos. We
Cannot
can't
be
have
the
that. So you want to pick the Raiders?
No.
Yeah, we're all going chalk. Everyone on the panel's got the Chargers winning. Everyone on the panel's got the Chiefs winning. And everyone's got the Broncos winning. And you know what? I think we would take that as long as that final game, the Broncos won,
Would you
is
put
right.
Chargers most likely to not win?
Yeah.
But also the Saints have lost, 5 in a row?
Yeah, they're really bad too.
That's crazy.
And Alvin Kamara, they just paid him, and now he's hurt. And they're still going with it's not Desmond Ridder. Why can I never think Spencer Rattler?
Spencer Rattler.
Yeah.
I think that I was thinking about this during the game the other day because usually, like when we beat the hell out of a team, I really like enjoy the pain that their fans are going through. I think the Saints might be the least hateable fan base in the NFL.
I can get behind that. Yeah.
I feel bad for them that they had 2 incredible weeks to start the season, and they're like, "Whoa, we might be nice," and then just completely fell apart.
You know what? Sean had a message because, of course, after the post game or after the game and Sean's post game press conference, there was more Saints reporters there than Broncos reporters, which is so unbelievably rare. But they all wanted to talk to Sean. They don't care what's happening with the Saints; they're falling apart right now. And one of the Saints reporters asked Sean, Saints fans love you. Would you give them any words of encouragement right now? God. And he said, just look, when they're healthy, they were rocking and rolling. And so they're very hurt right now. Just get them healthy again. If I'm a Saints fan, I am buying that and holding on to that so hard because it's true. They did have a really good first 2 weeks.
If I was him, I would have been like, the hope would be that maybe one day I feel it coming back.
Oh, my God. Walks off. Mic drop. That would be incredible. And speaking of incredible, let's jump out to our incredible listeners and viewers and hit some super chats. First one coming in from E. Lozano, who says, flying into Denver from Sacramento, California tomorrow. Can't wait to take my dad and son to our first game. Let's go, Broncos. I love it, E. And speaking of Sacramento, California, our guy Todd Davis, Sac State grad. He, Jarrell Casey, no Sean Moreno are doing the pregame show from the tailgate down at the stadium. So I encourage anyone to go, but especially E. You're bringing your dad and your son. You got to go to the tailgate. Make sure you're there around noon or so, because I think they're going to be doing the show early, but it's still going to be live on YouTube at the same time.
I love that so much, especially because that was a dream of mine that I wanted to do back when we were doing the pregame show. So I'm glad that the team is now making it come to life.
And instead, you're just like, nah, I can't really do like remote shows in parking lots. Instead, I have to do them on the bus in the middle of nowhere when I'm driving from from Denver to Buffs games.
It's pretty fun.
That is so freaking cool. You guys are killing it.
Thanks, man.
It is awesome. Stephen B chimes in and says, definitely would rather face Bryce Young. He's 0-9 on the road. Plus, it's Bryce Young. Yeah, Steven, you're probably right there.
The NFL is so crazy that you can go from being the number 1 overall pick to it's Bryce Young in less than 18 months.
Yep. Yeah, wild. Broncos Only has a couple of super chats rolling in. Says, I'm coming to the bar for the first time on Sunday, celebrating seeing Carolina as the last NFL team I've yet to see in Denver. Who is going to be around? And Broncos Only, what I got to say is, if you're not able to go to the game and be at the pregame, the bar has been popping for Broncos games this year. I think people are believing. So the guys will be doing the post-game show here. So if you hang around for the game, they will be here at some point as well.
I haven't been to a Broncos game here at the bar yet this year. And I want to say I'll be here 100%. But the Buffs game being at 8:15 start means I'm not getting home until around 3.
That's tough.
But I'll give a half of my word.
Okay, there we go. a half word. And Broncos Only again says, what's the best way to get there after the game? Oh, if you're going to the game and then you're coming here after, it's only like a 10-minute Uber ride drive.
Honestly, low key, if you've ever ridden one before, the scooters.
Yep. Oh, that would be fun.
Because you don't have to deal with the traffic.
That's so true. It's so true.
Yep. So you can, I mean, I've done it many times. It's like, 15 to 20 minutes.
Yeah, no.
But you're just passing all the cars that are just stopped.
Yep. Oh, man, that is the fun. You know how to live life fun. Love that. Stephen B says, Zach, no, LOL. Dalton's experience will give him the edge. If anything, Bryce is going to come in there and be spooked for sure. It should be like Halloween for Bryce. He should be freaked out left and right by this pass rush.
I agree.
Really should be the case. Cody, our guy, says, can't underestimate the Panthers. That being said, I want to see this defensive eat like any other game. I want 5 or more sacks and a pick. Stack these dubs. Totally agree, Cody. The Broncos should view this game as a way to pad their stats, specifically on defense. Izzy G says, what uniform combo would you guys like to see?
Have they not announced what it is yet?
They have.
Okay.
And I don't have the uniform schedule ahead of me, but if you're able to choose, what would you want?
I don't know. Something we haven't seen yet. Like all blue?
That'd be nice. I think they're saving that for prime time Monday night game. I want to see, this is one that we can't see because it's not allowed for stupid NFL rules reasons. I want to see all white with the white helmet.
Wow.
They're never going to break that out. They're doing all
they're
white
not gonna do that at home.
With a blue helmet. Well, they wore white at home.
Yeah, I hated that.
Yeah, it was a little weird.
Honestly, forget all that. Just go to the 77 unis permanently.
Incredible. We got one more of those games this year.
Another weird, that's an NFL thing, right? You can only wear your throwbacks twice or your alternates.
Yep. That's why I just make them your permanent ones, man.
Yep.
The Blind Swordsman says, what if RK is saying, if what RK is saying about preparation is correct, the Broncos should win. I hear they prepare their asses off.
They should.
Yep. Totally agree. And they do. You're right on that. Stephen B says, Broncos 27-6, a 21-point win. Sign me up, Steven.
One last thing about preparation and film. I also used to think that the phrase, this team wanted it more, also was kind of a farce.
Yeah.
I think that goes to preparation too.
That's fair.
If you want it more, you're preparing every night.
Yeah. Yeah, that's such a good point. And Mile High Sing rounds us out by saying, RK, what trade or trades do you want the Broncos to make?
I think this is a popular one right now, but I would just love to see the Broncos have a tight end. Or a wide receiver.
So David Njoku or Cooper Kupp?
Both.
Yeah. I think Bo Nix would like both as well.
Yeah, they need someone who can just get open consistently.
Yep.
So badly. And honestly, we might look back, once they fix that problem and say what Bo Nix was doing his rookie year was actually really impressive considering there was never any separation.
It's such a good point. And man, Ryan, you have brought all the good points on the show today. Good vibes. Love throwing it back. You hear, thank you for everything you've done. Shout out to Henry and Todd for what they did this week as well. And shout out to the Toyota chat and the listeners. Hit us with a thumbs up on the way out. Subscribe. We're close to 100. And we'll see you after a Broncos dub.
Go Broncos.
We all silly like the mayor.